Well, there we see our two opponents for this game. Welcome to our coverage for the EUCS ranking event, our summer tour here in Freiburg. And you have Sesquidistus having just changed into their light strip. They will be playing against the hosts. They get the advantage of sleeping in their own beds this evening. And they, of course, had a very short journey. Of course, it's DISConnection. No strangers to the top of the standings. Either of these two teams. Sesquidistus at the moment in the third overall ranking spot in the mixed division. DISConnection a little bit further down, but one of three German teams currently in the standings. Looking like they would be going through. To be fair, same for the French. There are three ranked teams, but DISConnection currently sat in that 9th spot. They need 2 more games to add to their tally than they had coming into this tournament. Sesquidistus the same, in order to see themselves all the way through to EUCF later. Of course, you have to have your 10 games over the course of the season. Last time these two played each other for an EUCS ranking connection was a 15-11 win for Sesquidistus. And how things have changed over the season in terms of the overall ranking expected. Well, not too much. The expected scoreline in this match by the almighty algorithm is 15-12. But it's going to be Sesquidistus starting off with the advantage by winning the toss. AI camera coverage occasionally getting distracted, folks. So apologies for that. To see them just shy of centre field, the Sesquidistus playing in these white jerseys. We'll take that reset all the way back. Here at our summer tours, of course, bringing you loads of coverage if you've got your full membership for our EUCS Solid Sport partnership. You can see all of that. But Sesquidistus just taking their time. Unfortunately, largely off our screen. So we see some applause from DISConnection sideline. Not sure exactly the nature of the turnover, but one was generated. Of course, these two teams both emerging top spots in their pool. This doesn't change the overall positionings at all. It's just an extra game added onto the schedule. So you see that travel call with Philipp Haas. Repositioning, of course, formerly of Sieben Schwaben, if I understand it correctly. Now all the way across, massive poach off though. Great view and closing speed. DISConnection trying to do the same to their opponents with that little upline poach off. Threatening it, but not quite making. Lots of sagging and poaching on the defense, and Sesquidistus weave their way through it for a dirty hole, but a hole nonetheless to start off this game. Of course, Sesquidistus hailing from Strasbourg, making the journey across. A beautiful day for Ultimate in Freiburg today. I was going to say Heidelberg then. It's definitely not the part of Germany that we're in. Just that very, very gentle breeze. It's been around 4 or 5 miles per hour. You can see it barely even touching the trees behind us here. And local temperature in the low 20s, sort of 20, 21 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow is promising some rain, which I'm sure the pitches will be thankful for. You can see those little dry spots, especially around the brick marks where the cleats of the athletes have been pounding upon them. But of course, as I said, this Summer Tour series all about seeing if you can do one of two things. The first, of course, is to make sure you get your 10 full games ranking, but there is as well that wild card bid to be distributed to the champions of this event. So DISConnection, just trying to grind this up line. Fantastic grab. Now all the way through to Simon Yesser. And another great grab. I think that is Miriam Forster. Oh no, it can't be Miriam Forster because she's right underneath the camera view. But either way, that was a really solid connection for the Freiburg outfit here on our live stream field. So one apiece, Sesquidistus. Then over, it's Jessica Hula wearing a different number to our roster we have. So we'll make that adjustment so we don't make the same mistake again. And Podsokolski with the first goal. Of course, Sasha, such a big part of French mix success the past couple of seasons. And Sesquidistus, certainly in previous games we've seen them through this season, are very much able to use those stars on their roster to devastating effect. Of course, big part of that is making sure that every single one of your 7 players on the pitch are activated. But they've got some big shoulders in a couple of their players. Love to watch Justine Brou play, for example. Not a player that always gets the most shout out, but we love to see her pulls especially. So Sesquidistus with a horizontal stack, sort of overloading the near space a little bit as we now transition through. Lots of air underneath its battle, and that one is won by the defense. So an opportunity again for DISConnection to try and snatch a break. Early days against Sesquidistus. You can see the players readying. Perhaps some isolation from Carolina Grassi. No, 2 players clear, and then there's the strike underneath. Oh, that one's a little bit too quirky, though. Not sure that was the intention to have that one come out quite so low and blady. But excellent pressure and a missed opportunity once more for DISConnection's D-line. I think that might, nope. just starting to form a thought of who that was racing up line. Almost certainly Gaël Ancelin at the back there. Such an anchor of a player. Really dynamic. Again, that shot selections, the softness of that inside throw, so level you could build a house on it. And the flow across the end zone. Perfect. Well, really lovely defense to smother the opportunity from DISConnection and showing that extra bit of finesse on the final few throws there for Sesquidistus. Anthony Charnay hitting Linnea Maton. And that will be a 2-1 lead, just held on to by Sesquidistus. course, as we've already said, both these two teams have locked themselves into the bracket. Sesquidistus, of course, will be playing. Well, I take it back. We said at the last game it was going to be Nullacht heading their way, but it will not. Nullacht, by the looks of this bracket, will be actually playing against Hecht. And DISConnection already have their opponents in the form of CUS Padova Rangers for tomorrow morning's games. But of course, the real meaning here is that EUCS ranking points. Both teams are currently sat in qualifying, as we see DISConnection, the 9th spot, looking to hit the target on the front cone. And again, I can be getting a little bit distracted by the players on the far sideline, but that one looks to be called a goal. Plenty of hand slaps all round, so we'll guesstimate that it was a tight challenge to the line, just grinding up. So maybe not the most comfortable, most obvious of goals, but it is a clean hold again for DISConnection. And of course, you don't have to be perfect if you can recover your offense points. You have that ability, but it does make the job more difficult. It's, of course, the last of 3 games for both of these teams. So we hear a little sneeze because I'm tight. And of course, massive thank you as always to our wonderful volunteers, keeping things running smoothly, keeping time, blowing the whistles to keep things flowing. So Sesquidistus coming out on offense, setting themselves into a vertical stack. Traditional 2-5. Anselm positioning himself in the center of it all. Sort of off to the side, yep, isolation. A big poach off, sagging into the lane from the off-hander mark to stop that ripping deep. Nice nullification of the pool set. That matchup, of course, very difficult to take on. Inside break, perfect execution of the backhand around, and our first whistle clean hold for Sesquidistus. They did not get the initial look they wanted, but attacking and challenging the break side and following it through with the right personnel means a very nice flow indeed. So we keep things moving, keep things trading here. No team really able to puncture through and set themselves in charge of this game yet. But Sesquidistus able to get their first clean hold on the board. Of course, the format here, 4 pools of 3 teams. Sesquidistus, the winners of Pool B against Zoom, Ultimate and Colorado, with an overall goal difference of +19. Very impressive indeed. And Pool D, DISConnection with a positive goal difference of 11, with wins against Nullacht and Wiener Mischung of Austria. And of course, that Nullacht Ultimate game, very close indeed. DISConnection took that one on Universe 14-13, whereas a lot more room in the scorelines for Sesquidistus, 15-6 and 15-5, capping their opponents in very fast fashion indeed. So now a side stack coming out of DISConnection, trying to isolate their best receivers, and that's a fantastic snag high. Fakes the big one around. Now Sesquidistus with a catch block, just sneaking through. Great read, great defense. Almost casual with that backhand high release toss over the mark of the shoulder. Then just engagement, waits and exploits the face mark. Now Sesquidistus, this to take the first break of score of the game. To try and take charge. Oh, that lefty flick opens up spaces that others can't. Nice catch. Just to keep things flowing, and it's the inside break backhand to finish things off. And after finding form on offense, the D-line say we can do that too. And our first break of the game goes to Sesquidistus. So 4-2, the Strasbourg team lead. And it is, of course, who else with those lefty handling skills at the back? Justine Preux with Etienne Michon on that grinding cut to the far side. Well, the emergency forces perhaps responding. No, I'm sure it's nothing to do with this tournament. Certainly hope so. We do, of course, have wonderful medical staff on hand at these events, this EUF Summer Tour. And injuries are part of sport, but hopefully not a part of this game, so we can get every moment, full effort, full ability. And DISConnection looking to make sure they don't concede any more breaks in the game. Trying to go for that point and shoot, but has nothing else than to reset to Turk. Again, DISConnection really being pushed just backwards. That's a lovely find, though. Great timing on the upline cuts. And now they are starting to run away with it. Well, that must have been a tempting shot to try and hit Kremer. But thinks better of it. Visser instead. Just anchoring at the back. Kremer with a big poach off, but closing in towards that line, and they slice through on the inside instead. Did that one make it all the way through? I think there might have been an extra pass just off of our camera view, but a nice clean hold. But the first section of match defense, really very effective. They're smothering everything upfield for DISConnection and really making them look fairly uncomfortable, having to just grind those through until that timing from Felix Visser on the upline cut was able to get them moving and flowing. So 4-3, just the one break of score in the game so far. Hambrecht, of course, with that final assist. And Joanna Eldman reeling it in. In fact, we do have 2 41s for DISConnection, so it could be Lasse Horgan, actually, that provided that upline cut in the hat. I wouldn't be surprised. Horgan has been a key part alongside Erdmann in terms of this Freiburg side. So the biggest stats leader, the monster, Arne Kroos, with the throws on the other side, 5 assists and 1 goal so far in the tournament. A very level affair for Sesquidistus. Alex Lernaud and Gwenaël Tessier, respectively. We see some split stack. Players trying to run away, but that is a bit of a miss for Podzakolski. Maybe thinking too much about the next throw rather than watching the catch all the way in, and that one's just going to be watched out of bounds and into the dust. Too much mustard on that throw. Sebastian Heinzen, the Swiss athlete, he's going to need some maybe some mental therapy for the sports therapist after squandering that opportunity. And we have seen Sebastian throw some amazing throws before. One so much so that it got a compliment from the very one and only Stefan Rapazzo, I do believe, as Podzakolski this time makes it absolutely fine on his error. So that give-go working very nicely. With that one shoots off of our view towards the end zone, and surely for a scintillating catch. Or was it a D? I know, it sounds like it must have been, well, looks like it must have been DISConnection celebrating a D. Apologies, folks, that I think maybe our AI camera is a little bit tired. It's been pulling some decent duty through the course of this day as the conditions have been very nice. It's been fortunate to go pretty much back-to-back, no delays in the schedule. And again, DISConnection looking to boost it. Fantastic position underneath it, though. Well handled. So Sesquidistus looking to counter-attack quite swiftly, although there appears to be a call. Now they're back in action. Pick call will send, I do believe, that must be Alex Lernaud, back a little bit. Indeed, does look to be a number 9 on that shirt underneath the ponytail. And of course, so much pace on these athletes, it's not always easy to read the numbers. Nice swing across. Keeping things simple as we have another pick call. Twilight doing a little bit of a chopping, as plenty of air is put underneath that one, but eyes on the prize and clutching the disc. Sesquidistus with another goal and a hold in this match. So DISConnection unable to break straight back. Anthony Charnay with division there, hitting Kylian Gouet. And that will do very nicely indeed. So DISConnection struggling to put together their D-line offense, but certainly have generated plenty of opportunities, particularly in the early stage of this matchup. But it's been Sesquidistus on the rise over the course of the first half so far. The pace of these points starting to lengthen, though. That one took 5.5 minutes to finish. Neither team calling a timeout as yet. Just happy to keep running through their initial strategies. So surrounding the stack rather smartly upfield are Sesquidistus, putting an exceptional handler matchup on. Sort of a zony affair. Indeed, it's Jonathan Omunde's John Kofi, one of our favourite ultimate photographers, of course, part of our media team, running all over the shop. Dish up line, that's a nice little leading pass into the path of Anna Cruz. Of course, a person you want to keep away from the disc at all costs. That one, Blady, but it's going to hang in the perfect pocket. And great positioning held to make sure the defenders could not sneak in there and snag a little block. And it is indeed Lasse Horgan in that iconic sort of turquoisey cap. And Susanna Wojtko with the grab holding her space. So 5-4. Sesquidistus with that extra little bit of advantage at the moment. Of course, they started the first half on offense. So it will be the Germans to start off, the hosts of this particular summer tour, although we've got multiple events going on across Europe. Freiburg enjoying some wonderful weather today. I'm sure the athletes will be making the most of it because it may well change tomorrow. So Sesquidistus starting with possession. Oh, that's an absolute ripper of an inside flick from Płatzakolski. But you can see the slowdown there. Excellent line had by the defence. The margin not able to be opened up. You can hear the support from the sidelines, looking to try and get things fired up. Immediately going for that scoop reset. Big pressure. Then sits off on the mark. Ripping a big backhand all the way across. Really fabulous throw. And then makes it easy to the back cone. Well, that was all about that big reaching throw. Going to work. Connecting with, I think that's Leander Haselbeck. No, it's not. It's Moritz Verheim. Verheim even. To Joanna Erdmann. Apologies, getting the 77 and 17 mixed up. Not always the easiest on our AI cams, but of course, you're watching this alongside us, so you know exactly what we mean. And that will put us back on serve. Sesquidistus, of course, if this one trades out, we'll start that final point, that universe point finish on offense, and that is what we are hoping for, just close games. Of course, you watching this and enjoying the coverage hopefully are allowed to be partisan. We just want to see the best game possible from our coverage point of view. But at the moment, everything on serve, one break apiece. A very closely matched set of teams indeed. We love to see it. Kotsakolski, who sets around to Anslem. You can see how much space some of these athletes are being given to work with underneath because of just how rapid they are. Clearly, the mandate of defense is to stop anyone stretching it deep. Well, things getting a little bit choppy. We have had a couple of issues with internet connections over the course of today here in Freiburg. But that one, a nice clean hold to get us ever closer to the first half. Of course, usual affair here at this summer tour event, games to a maximum points cap of 15, 100-minute games. So at 50 minutes, you also have the timed half should you need it. But local weather and climate conditions ideal for a game of Ultimate. So really getting the most out of these elite level teams. And at the moment, not too much to separate them. Other than the Germans coming out initially a little bit stronger, able to turn over Sesquidistus O-line on their first two times at bat. But Sesquidistus, the Strasbourg side, able to convert the break much sooner than their opponents. But all on serve now. And a close matchup between these two teams is more or less what we expect. They both, in terms of mutual opponents, they've had some similar affairs, including the same scoreline loss to Deep Space of London. And slight differentials in games against Morchaud. Notably those two wins at the French Federation and Elite Invite level for Sesquidistus. But at the moment, DISConnection looking to try and keep themselves nice and close to this very highly ranked team. As we say, Sesquidistus choosing this zone now, currently overall third in the EUCS standings. This debut of the almighty algorithm. As you see, Horgan just there available. Very active mark. Very tight mark from Cedric Vaganatrutis. But that's a beautiful little bit of expansion. Getting around the zone, and Arne Kloss doing exactly what he does best. Distributing into the end zone. Lots of experience on both of these rosters, athletes in their mid-20s all the way to their mid-30s, which is a credit, of course, to the athletic work that they do, because Ultimate is a very demanding sport. And of course, lovely to see those that have been playing for a slightly shorter period of time. We are seeing a lot of hobbling on the sideline from Pia Bunkvids. In fact, that does look like she's carrying a nasty lower limb injury. One of the younger players on this DISConnection side, just 20 years old. The Freiburg women at the moment, but originally from Kirchheim / Tech. Part of that Fantastic under-24 women's squad last year in Nottingham. You can see that left cleat's not on. Rocking the socks. That is a big loss for DISConnection not to have her on side. But Sesquidistus now will be the focus of our attention. Oh, that's a narrow window, almost an opportunity there for Verheyen. Plenty of pressure being put on. Thinks about it. Lots of these swings being put under pressure. Sesquidistus being consistent in bringing them down. Love that lead through to Answen. And again, almost mechanical the way that they move it towards the break side and flow at points to Sesquidistus' side. You can really see the reps they've been getting together starting to pay off. That little isolation pocket at the front of the stack, but too much, and you can see the frustration immediately. A nice option, and so many of the discs have been picture perfect, but that one left a little bit to be desired for Kylian Gray. Started playing for Psychopaths of Nancy. Who actually gives a massive shout out to Céline Antoine Doudou for her motivation and performances across her career. DISConnection now looking to try and put themselves ahead in the late stages of the first half. Oh, that one just about avoids the smart poaching. Fired though, and that one clearly hit the floor before it met the hands of Joanna Erdmann. And also looking to try and get it moving straight away. Has plenty of power to just unleash something in the end zone, but that one bounces out of both hands and will be jogged into the line. Gosselin just taking the assignment to go off and poach, but can't quite do anything to stop it. However, a little bit too much blood coursing through the body, and that one sails out of contention. Still in bounds, so of course Sesquidistus the full charge now to try once more to hang on to this point. So horizontal stack. Perhaps we'll get another slash and clear. No, just a traditional activation of that far side, and the disc is unleashed, but so is the defense. A great read on that pass that looked so threatening is muffled. So DISConnection exploiting these big poachers, but unfortunately not able to make the most of it on the throws, perhaps being a touch too hasty. There wasn't really much in the way of a mark on that one. Of course, it's always looks easy. It's easy for us to criticize. And to be fair, this is elite level play. These two teams right up in there with the best of Europe. So we know they are very capable of throwing absolute gems, but perhaps a little bit too much haste for DISConnection, knowing that a win here might not mean anything for the overall tournament schedule at large, but of course for the EUCS rankings points would help them along in the standings. But so also what a tight game. Wow, that's a fantastic recovery on the catch. Almost playing a little game of limbo. Aslen seeking options. High store release to the far side. Well, a brief moment of pause and suspiciously free, but no pit call. Toe drag swag just to finish that one off. Inches away now, Sesquidistus from bringing it to 7-6. There's a poach off, but it's far too late. Nothing you can do to stop that one. And I do believe that's going to be Aslen. It is Maël Barentin with the vision connecting with Aslen for the next goal. Barentin, of course, say yeah. An athlete that's been on our radar for quite some time. A 10-year playing career, and of course will be representing with the French mixed team in Australia later on this season. Usually takes the top matchups. Likes of Hannah Brute from the GB Women's Programme, Elena Benghi of the Italian women's team, Layla Deniston, another of the GB athletes, Charlotte Charles. Barentin has matched up against the best of them. And has also represented Les Manchots from Le Mans, having moved across, of course, to Strasbourg in more recent times. But nice cutting up line. Going to be rewarded with a deep shot. And it pays off just off of our camera view. And you can see some body language from Sesquidistus. And we go to a galaxy point situation. Daniel Turk there finding Annika Hambrecht just off of our view. And if you're not familiar with the ultimate jargon, if perhaps you're a family member watching this one, a galaxy point is just how we refer to the final point. If it's so, obviously we mentioned games played to a maximum points cap of 15. And this one, that little bit of weirdness, we call that final point. If it's 14, both teams, and you've got that final game point, match point, as it were. Sudden death, some sports call it. We call that universe. And the galaxy is, a smaller part within the greater universe, but it does help carry momentum through. A DISConnection break at this juncture would be what you'd call a buy one, get one free situation. You take the break, and then you head into the second half of this match, coming out on offense. And give yourself that little extra advantage to try and avoid that universe point situation. Try and make sure you can defeat your opponents clearly without needing to have that also tense situation for the final point. So a floaty swing across for Sesquidistus to get things underway. Kotsakolski attacking the deep space and taking a deep defender with him. The flail is there, but the block is not. Kotsakolski knew exactly what he was looking for with that deep cut, and so did the thrower. When Benoit Lebert just sending that almost immediately. Why would you hesitate when you have a player like Kotsakolski racing away from you? So that will be half-time taken by Sesquidistus on serve 8-7 in this crossover game. Although, as we've already mentioned a couple of times, it's not the most impactful for the schedule, just impactful, of course, for those all-important ranking points when it comes to trying to find your way to Ostend. So the half-time break finishing here in this matchup. The additional match, extra match, as it's being called, on the schedule between DISConnection, the Freiburg hosts, and Sesquidistus, hailing from Strasbourg. And we do know that the Strasbourg community love to watch their live streams. So a big hello to all you folks. Of course, Strasbourg Ultimate has been at the top of things in the mixed division for quite some time. They won the French Championship back in 2017, got the silver medal in 2019, 23rd in the world at the World Ultimate Club Championships back in Ohio in 2018. Known, of course, for their cheering, the gorgeous moustaches, and the constant battle in teaching folks how to correctly pronounce their club's name. But at the moment, looking that extra bit of finesse over DISConnection just in general. But that is a ripper backhand, chucks the hats to the dust in order to make sure that one stays in contention, and finishing it off with a little air bouncy backhand throw. Just popping over Arnikus, doing exactly what he does best and getting another stat on the board. On the assist side of things, Simon Yasser just finishing off. Yes, sort of one of the younger athletes for DISConnection, just 26 years old. And you can see some slightly dejected body language from some of the Sesquidistus players. Certainly, based on the last time these two matched up against each other, they are expecting a little bit of a more determined win. I think that's probably one of the words you could use. So it was 15-11, the eventual score last time these two opponents played each other back at the Elite Invite in Leuven. And DISConnection also 2 losses against Tusitaka, but relatively close, which will have helped their overall ranking. Sitting 9th. But this game, on paper, should be in the hands of Sesquidistus by at least 3. That's a brilliant throw all the way in. Well, I say that just shy by the looks of the tape. but a little bump over. And that one becomes an assist rather than a goal, but extremely well handled. And if you listen carefully, I do believe you may be able to catch the dulcet tones of a certain Marco Müller, if my ears do not deceive me. So Freiburg trying to get themselves fired up. And we can finally give the credits. Kylian Gray with that brilliant catch, backed up by Płacikowski. So DISConnection looking to hopefully continue the trading here. Everything so level and close in this matchup. Perhaps a preview of the final, depending how things go. And that's a nice find, but just too much on it. Annika Handrecht can do nothing but watch that one fall too far. Throwing away this hat. Not sure if it's hers or not. Starting us off with a massive lefty backhand. Perfect curvature. And you can see all of the poaching off. 3 defenders trying to stop it, but cannot do anything at all. And again, just opening up all of the draws and putting them in beautiful places. Such scope. Originally from Angers, Justine Preux, of course, European champion twice for 2023. And you can see exactly why. So getting a masterclass of throwing prowess from Sesquidistus in that last point. For the break, of course. And Alua Faramelli just finishing things off. Oh, Alois, apologies. Been playing for about 5 years. Originally started playing Ultimate in Rome, actually. Now joining the fold with Sesquidistus at the age of 23 on their D-line. Getting the envy of Europe, of course, getting to play alongside some of these big power throwers. The DISConnection now. Looking to try and respond with the hold. They've been broken before by Sesquidistus in this game. And not quite immediately broke back, but it didn't take them long to find the fire. Well, the sideline saying Haka, so that's got to be Miriam Förster. DISConnection looking to try and isolate on the break side, and they manage it as well. Not quite the same swaz as the throws from Preux in the previous point, but that one, a slightly more conventional curvature on the forehands to the break side. And a solid hold Well, if we're going to get an action replay of the last time these two teams break each other, it should be a Sesquidistus hold, followed by 2 goals from DISConnection. But what shall it be this time? Just over halfway through the time cap. But this could be towards the later stages of the game where we start to see the algorithm proved right. Of course, Ravi Vasudevan earning that name of the human abacus. The inaugural debut season of the ranking system to determine who shall ascend to the EUCS later on this year in Ostend. Excellent pull, nice depth and positioning, well fielded, but choosing not to apply any mark whatsoever to the reset. Wojciechowski fires back. Nice bit of switching off and poaching in the lane to try and cover that quick reset. A little bit of contact upfield. It looks like great getting a bit of collateral and traffic. Just having a quick discussion with Berheim. Looking for the power position on the up line. I agree. Now back in. Wojciechowski trying to race away with it. Goes for the greatest attempt, but not the best throw. However, by virtue of having jumped from inbounds and made contact with the disc, Wojciechowski will ensure the maximum distance required for DISConnection to go up the pitch. Because, of course, we'll have transferred his inbounds status to the disc. Not sure it adds too much more in this instance, but some bit of no rules knowledge for you. That one well covered as an option, Moritz Verheyen. Although seems to be a call on it, some contact perhaps whilst chasing that one down. We'll have a brief discussion on the field. So after some discussion, looks like the outcome is going to be a contested foul. So that one will come back to the original thrower. And you can see just what a throw it was. Almost a full field stretch. But both teams really trying to deny each other the deep game. Packs of defenders surrounding the intended target. And not every time the defence is able to win the battle. So we're going to get an absolute action replay. That one, a little bit more tilt on it towards the near sideline, and it's not going to come back in bounds. Did it make contact with anyone further down the field or come back in, I wonder? I'm going to go hazard a guess on yes. by virtue of the fact that we are having players run down the field. To be also bringing us back into play. And immediately Podzakolski getting us underway. Loving how this Sesquidistus team really set themselves up early. And that one racing all the way away. And the goal for Sesquidistus, who come onto the pitch and celebrate. Well, that is the way to start opening things up. Holding the lead, 11-9. Will it be an action replay of the breaks as the pattern happened in the first half? Of course, it was Sesquidistus to break, to take it from 3-2 to 4-2, 2 holds, and then DISConnection found the way to interrupt their opponents. But a tight game here in Freiburg. Our summer tour giving us a real sense of the athletes as they prepare, of course, for Ostend. It's a very busy end to the season. Not long after returning from the World Championships, will these European athletes then have to go and play on the club scene? You can just hear all of our lovely pitch noise, some tiny humans enjoying the scenes. It's the sound of summer, isn't it? As you see Bonkovitz there, again, rocking the socks, not taking to the pitch to assist her team. They currently need to just keep punching in these offensive holds. Hambrecht sends that one. Only the one arm goes up from Arne Kroos. It must be an arm that's tired from shooting so many throws into the end zone for DISConnection. That one does not connect magnetically into his palms like he's expecting. Pick will bring that one back. Also, you get that nice action roll. Sesquidistus is getting a tiny bit clustered, so Kofi is going to call the timeout to try and clean things up a little bit here and see if they can push through as the game starts to draw towards the close. So a timeout on the field, the bucket of bottles coming on for hydration. So grab yourself a refreshment. We're back in the action.
Genau genommen müssen die jetzt genauso stehen bleiben.
Boah, wir sind zum Weitspritzer geworden. Sag mal, der Nahkampfstachel, der wurde jetzt aber zu. Ich hab jetzt über die Burgmauer springen.
So the rest of the players vacating the field after the timeout call. Sesquidistus just taking the timeout to try and refocus things. The original strategy not quite paying off again. Disconnection, chucking that reset handler mark directly in the line of the sight of the view of the thrower, sorry. But Sesquidistus happy to find their way around it, exploit that free, easy pass. Bit of contact on that one. Quality of the stream. Apologies, getting a little bit cubular. Cubular, is that a word? But of course, not to be minded, we do have an injury call off the layout bid to try and save possession. Of course, this tussle, two teams very well matched, very high level. And we'll get an injury replacement as well for disconnection. That looks to be Joanna Erdmann coming onto the pitch. Nice little scoot cut in front, but choosing the swings around instead. That one, though, very well contested. Can see that grind downfield by Carla Ehler. Originally of Germany, having played for the Sesky side for a number of years. Seeking that backhand break. And then exploiting, again, this reset handler poach off. That one, perhaps ambitious, no, signalled a goal immediately by the trailing defender, but other folks with differences of opinion, they'll chat it out. Always difficult in the moment to figure out exactly when the catch occurs versus the first point of contact. Because you must have made the catch whilst in the air, without having had a point of contact in the central zone. So it is indeed going to be called good for the goal. And Sesquidistus post another. Asking all these questions that at points disconnection seem unable to be able to respond to. And Kofi with the footwork to finish us off after throw from Marianne Benoit. Benoit even. So Sesquidistus starting to open up that scoreline difference in the later stages of the game. I'm sure Ravi Vasudevan will be counting his little tokens. I say that. It's an algorithm that's figuring out, of course, all this newfangled EUCS ranking as the Germans try and stay cool with the mister. Useful for watering plants and keeping your teammates cool. But 12-9, Sesquidistus really just dominating this second half, 4-2. Klaus running off to the deep space. Left on a bit of an island for some time. Förster now. Oh, and that's a beautiful throw. Perfect timing on it. Just that moment of magic where you see Jessica Hewlett in wide open space. A little moment from a behind defender thinking they could get a poach on it, but nothing can stop the original Sugar Mix athlete. But of course, Hewlett, part of that European Championship side. So many European champions. Too many European champions. Sorry, put my teeth back in. Currently out on this field. Of course, the French mixed team had a fantastic time in Limerick last year. Same for the German women. And high hopes as well for both of those squads travelling to the Gold Coast in but a few weeks now. So Sesquidistus fielding the ball very swiftly indeed. That one making it just past the break mark. We've had a lot of great pulls so far in this match. But just looking for the give goes are Lebel and Anselm. Sesquidistus now coming in. Anselm up line, looking for that timing. And it's just going to come straight out of the back of the stack. Sesquidistus, lefty high grab, making things look very easy indeed. So nothing special really required on that offensive point. Just some very patient swinging at the back, waiting for the moment of opportunity to arrive. And somewhat of a trust throw. That move from Sesquidus was less a cut and more just a straight run out of the back of the stack. Identifying the player matching up against him. Not in a great position to defend that deep space, that kind of channel. And of course, an exquisite same third throw to make Sesquidus's life relatively easy. Still had to go up for the high grab. Made it look very pretty indeed. So a nice set of isolation from the handler set. Running this dominator. Our AI cam getting a bit confused with everybody else stacked up field. So Turk, Hogan, and I think that must be Hambrecht dashing around, darting to and fro. No, I take it back. Or do I? And you hear the word dominator from our field mic as they get everyone else involved. And Henning Nova connects for the pass. Simon Jesse bringing that one in. 13-11. It's not too far away for DISConnection to join the dots. And by dots, we mean breaks. But they're running out of time with which to do so. That last point started About 75 minutes into this game slot, so approximately 20 minutes left of game time, but not much room on the scoreboard. If we trade out from here, then the algorithm will be almost completely on the money. It's expected, if we give some rounding down, the actual formal exact expected score from the EUCS ranking, so ranking.ultimatefederation.eu for all these details. The expected EUCS score is 1512.9 in favour of Sesquidistus. So if we're being generous with our roundup, 1513 or 1512. Well, Sesquidistus coming out on offense match. And again, with that big poach off from the off-handler. Or is it a zone? No, it does look fairly honest person coverage downfield. Sesquidistus looking a little bit frustrated. 3 players all making very similar cuts with separation laterally, but it makes it very difficult for the thrower to really identify a true target. That's a lovely inside forehand, though. DISConnection happy to play against the Dend match, and that is a really great pick-off. The vision and space held by, I think that must be Turk. Oh, that's a big old boost, though. And again, DISConnection, D-line offense, so many times in the course of this game has just had a bit too much on the throws, a bit too spicy. And a lot of the time it is coming off of these arcing forehands, trying to exploit the break side of the pitch. And that was a big moment to miss and waste an opportunity, especially with the player currently sat in that 22 shirt in front of the disc. Now finds himself a matchup in the form of Turk. And Sesquidistus move it all the way across with relative ease. You can see a little bit of hesitation. And that's a fabulous defensive catch block. Can it be more rudimentary? This time it is conservative as it gets. And in the late stages, DISConnection. Are they going to start a comeback now? 20 minutes left on the game clock. Almost exactly now. As Daniel Turk hits Laura Sedelmeier. And John Kofi there in the middle of your screen. Not only playing Ultimate, but taking photos as well. So 13-12. A very close game indeed. As we watch the Sesky players huddling on the far sideline, making sure that they give their teammates all the knowledge they can. So this, of course, our last slot of the day here in Freiburg. This game means nothing for the tournament overall schedule. Both have locked themselves in for showdowns tomorrow. The curiosity in the schedule that we don't actually have Sesquidistus' opponent listed, because the result hasn't been entered for the crossover corresponding to theirs, but yeah, just looking to prepare themselves. And of course, it all counts for the ranking games, in which both these teams need an extra 2 coming out of this championship. But will either of them also be guaranteeing a ranking spot pick upfield. You can see there a little bit of the inner workings of our AI tech. There's some of the sideline get very close to the sideline. As this game starts to really raise intensity-wise. Libert forced on a high stall to throw a gorgeous around. Now dishing through Aslan. And Sesky really being pushed to throw negative yards. This is really a fantastic person defense from DISConnection, and nerves being held as well by Sesquidistus not to try and force too much. They do, though, go for that one. Is the defense going to get in the way? No! What a fabulous grab. Contact underneath it, but that was just poise on a stick. You can see things ever so jovial on the sidelines between these two teams. Kofi just reviewing his DSLR to see if he's got a good view of it. So the discussion presumably being an offensive foul call. Simon Yasser, it looks to be, was battling. Just after I had complimented Sesquidistus on being quite conservative, holding their nerve, not trying to force too much. You got that run straight out of the stack towards the deep space, a bit of a trust ball. And I say amazing poise to make that grab. Just whether or not it was executed to the level of cleanliness one has to for a game of Ultimate. So contested foul will return to the hands of the thrower. Can Sesquidistus, as we say, hold their nerve and stop this game from slipping away from them? Because 3 breaks on the bounce in the late stages is a real momentum builder. And certainly I'd expect to have a timeout. But immediately hits the reset backwards. Oh, and that's a lovely little bit of connection up line. Swap. Potsakolski just noshing up yards. Now that high fake. All the way around, and it pays off and works out. That's more like conservatism, that is for sure, than that big spicy forehand that got called back on the foul. But that does look like perhaps time cap came on a little bit sooner than expected. Of course, the timings on the scorekeeping sheet not always completely relied upon. So that one, a 14-12 victory just by virtue of figuring out how it has all gone down here. And that one indeed will be counted 14-12. And our live stream immediately disappears. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this game between Sesquidistus and DISConnection. It's been a pleasure to call it for you. Join us again for day 2 of all of these wonderful summer tours developing here for you with the coverage from the European Ultimate Federation. We will see you on the next one.